Call the meeting to order at about 7:02 p.m. Would you please all join in the pledge of allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 3 is public comment. Would we have public comment this evening? Yes.
Hi, Linda Garcia.
Linda, how are you?
Good. I just wanted to know if there's any further progress on the right to first refusal issue with the land. It's been ongoing for several.
I believe we're going to executive session this evening, Linda, and I can't share with you a whole lot more than that at this point. As I told you at our last meeting, some of the things that we discuss until they become realities and public knowledge, we have to keep close to the vest with, and that happens to be one of those things. We did have a meeting with Don Musial from Liberator last week, and we continue to make progress. How's that?
Do you have some kind of deadline, a month, 2 months, a year? Any idea? Yes.
If you're asking me what I would like, I'd like to see it settled within the next few weeks. Yeah, I think we've made good progress, but once again, when you're negotiating in that manner, we have to negotiate in strict confidence. So, as I have information that's available to the community, I'll make sure that it's dispersed and given out. But we have made good progress. Let's put it that way. Other public comment system. Thank you all. Item number 4 is approval of minutes. In your packet, you have the minutes from September 3rd, 2013 Board of Selectmen meeting minutes. What would be your pleasure?
Motion to approve is presented.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So carried.
Abstain. I abstain. I wasn't here.
Very good. Duly noted. Item 5 is petitions and communications. In your packet, you have a letter dated August 29, 2013 from Liberator regarding the discharge monitoring report of July of 2013. And once again, that report is available in its entirety in the mayor's office during normal business hours. Item number 6 is reports of standing committees and general government committee.
Great. We did meet on September 12th, and we covered a lot of things. Codification, that's still in process. What we're going to do is we have to, after speaking about it with Doug, we are going to get a meeting with Chief Hayes to have him review some of the old ordinances, and I think if we all sit at the table together, it might be easier for all of us, so we're going forth with that. MS4, actions required with that, we're all set with that. Is that coming today? Doug? No, but
The next meeting.
next meeting. Same thing with water, sewer, and the FOG provisions. The evaluations, we looked over them again, and Doug is going to take them to the department heads for their input. The responsible employer ordinance, we did table that for more information on that. The development fund, again, same thing, we wanted to, and we got the update. No, I'm sorry. The development fund, we wanted to bring this to the selectmen tonight. Sorry about that. So that is in your packet, I believe.
Very good.
Because we felt that we had gotten to the point with that it had been finished. What else is on here? Grants management program. We tabled that one also because we wanted further information on that. So for the most part, we got a lot accomplished. A couple things pending, but that's it.
Very good. Questions, Tom? Thank you, Alma. Reports of item 7, reports of special committees. Wheelabrator Contract Review Committee. Doug, anything further?
Nothing new on that one.
Very good. Item B is the Charter Revision Study Committee.
We attempted to have a meeting on the 9th.
Yep.
Unfortunately, we were not able to have a quorum available, so the next meeting of the Charter Revision Study Committee will be on September 30th. It's a Monday night at 7.
Very good, thank you, Doug. Item C is Putnam Facility Study Group. I know the minutes are in the packet. Is there anything additional you'd like to add to those minutes, Doug?
Two things. One is the use of the Dempsey Center property. After a brief explanation of our meeting at the state capitol with representatives of the EAS, there was a motion by the on the floor, and it was seconded, and it was voted unanimously to recommend to the Board of Selectmen to remove the town's interest in purchasing the Dempsey Center and to refer the matter to the Planning Commission.
And the reason for that, Doug?
Was based on the fact that we get 2 bites at the apple.
Okay.
So
Very
the
good.
sooner that we were able to, let them know that, if they could go out to the public request for proposals process.
Very good.
And the second one is that there was a discussion, lengthy discussion about all sorts of things revolving around building use in town, use of the armory, town hall space needs, use of the provincial house, how that tied in with the library. And after a discussion about all those various items, there was a motion made and seconded, and it carried on a 6-1 vote that the committee recommended the Board of Selectmen board pursue one location for a municipal complex of town hall, library, and community center. And members felt that this would serve as an alternative with a quick turnaround pending the outcome of town decisions relative to the library building project. And sort of covered in that was also the regional probate court. So any solution that we were looking at would maybe incorporate the possibility that we could be the location of a regional probate court. And they also have needs of 3 new members. So if there's anything that, in terms of interest out there in the community for members who would like to serve on the Facility Study Committee, there are 3 openings. I don't know the breakdown as to party affiliation or anything, so that covers it, I think. Nick?
Yes.
Is that?
Good picture of the place. Good summary.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Questions of Doug? Thank you. Item 8 is Economic Community Development Report. Elfa, please.
Good evening. Under the Redevelopment Agency, the Community Development Block Grant for 2012 Housing Rehabilitation, it states in your report that the Castengay property is complete. However, it is 70% complete. We have that report this evening. Lisa Lowe of Lisa Lowe & Associates, our consulting firm, is here tonight to answer any questions on the report that will be passed out. The Community Development Block Grant for 2013, the town has been awarded the application for $400,000 for the 2013 housing rehab project. Assistance agreement appropriate documentation has been submitted to the consultant for all of the state DECD offices, and Lisa again is here this evening to answer any of your questions. The redevelopment agency bylaws review. We have sent the current bylaws to all of the agency members. As we told you before, they're over 30 years old and they need to be compliant with Connecticut state statutes of today. The redevelopment agency was started by then Mayor Dempsey after the 55 flood, and at this point there are 110 pages of state statutes that allows for the redevelopment agency as a housing authority, as a separate entity. Under economic and community development, brownfield pilot program for the Cargill Falls Mill, based on a hazardous waste assessment conducted by CME's environmental contractor, Eagle Environmental. Additional PCB testing was completed on various exterior locations throughout the property. All but one proved to have no PCB threat. One was identified as needing soil remediation. This was the final assessment detail that was needed for Eagle to draft the work abatement plan. These specifications will be needed for the bidding for on-site remediation, and they are in the review stages now. It is anticipated that a bid package would be ready for dissemination within the next 2 weeks. 88 Main Street facade improvement project. There has been a specialty waterproofing spray process that has been put on the building. You can see kind of a specialty blue tape that goes around all of the windows. And this is before the brick and cast stone facade with a limestone stucco is installed. After the brickworks, the new historic copy vinyl clad windows and the trim will be inserted. The roof is completely done with the structure, a new structure. Original trim was removed and copied in low maintenance composite material for low maintenance. The proposed industrial park trust or investment fund, I am proposing the establishment of this fund for the purpose of enhancing economic development. At the time this report was done, it was on its way to the general government for review. Under the Palo property, Town Council and the attorney representing Wolf Den Trust have come to an agreement to access Palo property for the purpose of additional testing and demolition per the Urban Action Grant Award. My office has been contacted by the property manager of Deep with clarification regarding the scope of services. They wanted a breakdown, a further breakdown of the cost of each of the items and the scope of work, so that we could show more measurable accountability. The assistance agreement is still being drafted by DEEP. We were supposed to get it about a month ago. Under the STEEP grant for 3 small community projects, the agreement has been signed with SAS Construction, site work contract for a not-to-exceed price of $30,000, and the remaining funds will be used for parking lot striping at the Farmers Market Pavilion and signage for the Putnam River Trail. SAS Construction has assured me that the project will be done by September 30th. I appeared before the Putnam Zoning Appeals to ask for a variance from the current zoning regulations for the parking space size to conform to other municipal properties. Our zoning regulations say that our municipal parking lots should be striped at 10 by 20, and most of them are 9 by 18, which is the federal DOT guidelines, and those will be put into the newly proposed zoning regulations. Under the Ag Viability Grant and Wholesome Wave, $4,540 in value of WIC coupons and farmers market nutrition program for seniors have been redeemed in July, and the new program, fruits and vegetables prescription program, to date this program has invested approximately $1,300 into the farmers market. Preservation of Place program, we have our final meeting tomorrow. We were just sent a draft document of the proposal, so we will be meeting. We're looking at a new system of track lock system, of systems for lighting and signage, so that we don't have to put banners and things on telephone poles. So this is a system that many communities are adopting. If we were to put up new lighting and we received funding for new lighting, we could do banner systems all on the same thing. It's just interchangeable parts. And conversations regarding the Providence-Worcester Railroad for gateway signage, whether to either repaint that trestle or maybe allow us to put up banners for welcome to downtown areas. Putnam Industrial Park, we have the real estate closing for the Reset property on Ridge Road for the purpose of that small parcel A piece, 0.26 acres, to EAO Realty LLC, which is Rental Tool Company. They have already begun site work. Eastford Business is already breaking ground, and they want to be in this construction season, bringing 25 employees into a new 17,000 square foot facility. The Park Tribute Center has completed building construction, and I don't know if any of you have had an opportunity to go by that building, but it's stunning. And they have received their certificate of occupancy and opened their doors for business. Community Garden, quotes are being requested for garden expansion to include tree removal, pet deterrent fencing, additional raised beds, and removal of soil and replacement. work continues for next year. We're having a Saturday work day if anybody wants to join us. Let's see. Under the Farmers Market SNAP program, the town has been approved for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program for the Saturday market. Some concerns have been raised regarding what the cost will be to the town, and we did an analysis on this. We have till September 30th to apply. We've already been approved through the grant, but we have to send in by September 30th in order to get the EBT machine. And I do have a cost breakdown, and again, as stated in one of the last Selectmen's meetings, the revenue for this project would be gained from the Saturday market vendors who actually pay to be part of the market. We have gone through our second full season of our farmers market. The market masters sell bags that we purchased at the very beginning to sell to help subsidize the market. We have, I think, 6 more markets to go, and we have a remaining total after all advertisements have been done, new signage has been done, and we have a breakdown of everything that, that we have spent. We have a remaining budget of $1,269.54. A breakdown from the cost of the EBT machine is $895. That we received through the grant for the first year. We have a one-time expense that's being paid by the state for $100. Costs that are incurred next year, the year after, however long the Saturday market goes, we are only accepting EBT transactions. We are not doing debits or credits, only EBT transactions. That's a seasonal startup of $50, a monthly wireless fee of $18.95 times 4 months comes to $75.80, a 10-cent per transaction. If we received 50 EBT transactions on a Saturday, which I just talked to the market master and it's maybe 10, so I grossly exaggerated this. Transactions times 17 weeks for each Saturday would be $5. So that would be a total for the year of $85. So that brings the total per season to approximately $210.80. So clearly we will have plenty of funding to sustain that. And I do have a copy of the breakdown if anybody wants that. And I lost my place. Okay. Empty Spaces project. I think I reported on this already. I did? Okay, excellent. And we are looking for other spaces to put the Empty Spaces project into. I did have the distinct privilege to tour the downtown with Governor Malloy in August, as well as Kip Bergstrom from the Office of the Arts, Senator John Williams, and Representative Rivero. And we spoke of the revitalization and the importance of community partnerships with the state, as well as ongoing projects. Any questions?
Lots of stuff going on. So, questions of Delphi?
Delphi, on municipal brownfield pilot program, the only PCBs was in the soil. Is that what I'm reading in the report?
Yes. There was only one section that had PCBs in the soil for remediation. There are PCBs in glazing and those kind of things, caulking,
Yeah.
those kind of things.
Yeah. Second thing is, the state grant for the sidewalks, did it go out to bid?
I'm sorry?
Did it go out to bid?
No.
Delphi, has there been any conversation with the railroad as to whether or not they're going to paint that bridge?
We have had some preliminary conversations. We actually had a conversation, I would say 2 years ago. Oh, it was longer than that. It was when I first took on the director's position. And they said it was about $40,000 to paint that bridge. So we have started communications again with them as to the possibilities. As one of our more significant gateways to our downtown, and if they did not have the ability to paint it, when we did an extensive walk around of our downtown for this wayfinding and for beautification, we found a lot of areas that needed attention. We photographed them all, took notes, that kind of thing, and we're bringing them to this wayfinding group. And it's a great team because we have Public Works, we have the Recreation Department, we have the Town Planner, myself, President of the Putnam Business Association, Chief Hayes. So it's a great team so that we have these conversations and see how they impact all departments. It just makes a win-win situation. What the wayfinding that we're trying to do is whenever anybody gets a grant or any department puts up signage of any kind or a banner program, whatever, everybody's kind of designing their own for their needs, and we don't have any consistency with our actually our, not just the Special Services District, but townwide. So we're trying to conform with colors, with logos, where to appropriately use logos, QR for smartphones so that we don't have to keep updating and printing booklets, so that people can just come into town, put their phone on a sign, and they'll know where the public restrooms are, where all the municipal free parking is, update the businesses all the time, that kind of thing. So it's kind of bringing it forward. So hopefully they will perhaps allow us to do a banner, but we'll bring them into that conversation once we have the design, and we will of course put their logo on it.
Further questions, Joe? Thank you all. Thank you, Doctor. Item 9 is building official DO report. Lee, anything in addition to what you have on paper here for us?
We took care of the snake problem. I don't know if you heard of that.
No.
There was some snakes.
Oh, snakes on Walnut Street?
Yeah, I finally got a hold of DEEP.
Yeah.
Guy called me today. He was visiting with a lady, but she is able to have pet ball pythons. That's not a problem. And he was also in the area today looking at another place on Kennedy Drive where they're raising these snakes. He told me he hadn't found anything yet, but there was a officer in the area today, and he was in contact with me. He was supposed to find anything. But they are allowed to have ball pythons as pets.
As long as they're not in business to...
Right. And I sent a certified letter out to her. She responded within 10 days. Said she's not selling them, so.
Good.
And Walmart will be done probably next week. They're working on the last floral. So.
I was in Walmart over the weekend, and it's quite impressive.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just a giant-sized store now. It's more than I guess that I thought it would be, and quite impressive. And their traffic flow has picked up tremendously, so good for
We
them.
just got plans today for AutoZone.
Yep.
And the rest is in the reports, I guess.
AutoZone located across from the old Buick garage.
Correct. Yeah.
You know, down by the town. Very good, Lee. Any questions, please? Thank you. Item 10 is Town Administrator's Report. Doug?
Thank you. First off, on Putnam Pride, I'm happy to report that the town finally, after 3 years, it's been awarded the 6th year of the Drug-Free Communities Grant, and we've received the maximum amount of $125,000, and funding will be used to finally hire back our project coordinator, and we'll be providing messaging through the various media, including social media, about substance abuse in town. This is in addition to the approximately $50,000 that we have through the Stop Act grant, and so we are going to be in good shape in terms of going forward with getting the message out about the abuses of substance abuse and being preventative in terms of working with our kids in our school system. The other thing that is going on is, since we bought a drug lockbox, over 100 pounds, in fact over about 130 pounds have already been collected. at the drug disposal lockbox at the police department, and you can bring them in 24 hours a day whenever, it's right there in the lobby, and no questions asked, and so that has been successful. And just so that we follow up and stay, make sure that we continue our programs on the Drug Take Back Day, we will be participating on Saturday, October 26th from 10 to 2 p.m. at the Farmers Market. And also I participated in an interview on pride activities with Gary Owen Winnie. Since our last meeting, I've attended the meetings of the Facility Study Committee, the Charter Revision Study Committee, and unfortunately we didn't have a lot of quorum, as I already reported, and the General Government Committee. The Wellness Committee, I'm happy to report that the Joint Town Board of Education Wellness Committee is back meeting, and we've devised a number of programs for promoting wellness among our employees over the course of the next 90 months, including offering Weight Watchers program at a discounted price. We'll be putting together and producing a newsletter that will contain various things about activities coming up relating to wellness, maybe some healthy recipes and those types of things. We're also going to be starting a walking program sometime at the beginning of the next year, and we'll be culminating in our annual 5-mile walk in May. And as usual, we also offer flu shots to any employee or their dependents in October, and that's regardless of whether they're on the Cigna insurance program or not. So that is a good, one of the good things that we're able to offer. And this is based on a grant that we received through Cigna. And again, the grant comes through the ECHIP, the Eastern Connecticut Health Initiative. But so far, whatever we've asked for in terms of getting reimbursed for any of our programs, we've been granted. So we figure we would continue with a very proactive program in terms of wellness. WPCA, I'm working on the necessary documentation to close on our the final USDA loan for the funds spent on the Wellfields project. That's a $1.2 million loan, and this is in addition to the state drinking water state revolving fund loan and the grants that we received from the USDA on the project. And we've also finally received a notice of, now this isn't the final notice, but at least it's a notice of tentative determination that they're approved our application for the diversion of water from the Little River, which is actually very good news. So barring anything coming up, which we don't anticipate, we should have the final determination that we'll have a diversion permit for the Little River wellfield, Little River treatment plant. And that permit would allow the withdrawal of 1.8 million gallons per day that will be good for 25 years. And hopefully that since that tentative determination has come out, that we'll be receiving the same thing on the well fields. So hopefully those two projects will be permitted, and we'll be able to start drawing water through the well fields actually before the end of the year. Regional Community YMCA, I was asked to attend a meeting of the Board of Advisors to provide them with updates, and they had specific questions concerning the Tech Park and Bridge project and town regulatory issues relative to construction of the Y. And the questions involved gravel excavation, bridge, road approval, building permit requirements, and signage. And I'm happy also to report that after many years of negotiation, not many years, but it seems like many years of negotiation, we finally have received the acquisition of the easement from Sylvia Hankin for that portion of the airline trail that she owns from the end of our river trail to Town Farm Road. So as soon as Jerry has some opportunity, we have some in-kind contributions in addition to the $105,000 grant we received from the state of Connecticut. And that completes my report.
Questions or comments?
On the permit, the diversion permit, how many gallons are we allowed now to withdraw from Little River?
1.47.
1.47? Is that going to allow us, if that permit finally comes through and the well diversion permit comes through, is that going to allow us to, will that get us out of extending any water mains or being
That's
able
correct.
to
Yes.
add any more
Where the
residence connections or anything?
Right. The consent order is valid right now through March 2014. It was the 3-year period. But we're hoping that when we get the diversion permits for both of those two, that the consent order will go away. And if it goes away, hopefully in advance of the the actual endpoint, which is the March 2014.
Now, looking at so we'll gain another 400,000 gallons per day from the diversion permit to Little River. What are the wells, what are we looking for the new well fields to bring on to supplement the 1.1
1 million gallons,
1 million
which is the
gallons.
300,000 that we get now, and then it's expected that the additional wells would provide 700,000.
So we would actually gain 1 million gallons a day once the diversion permit goes away and we go to 1.8 million and the wells come online. Is that a correct
That's
statement?
correct.
Thank you.
On the rail trail, now that we've received it basically towards the Town Farm Road, are we free and clear to go all the way to Pomfret now?
If it's all set on the state end, yes, you should be able to go right through.
Long time coming.
Yeah.
Doug, on the regional community YMCA, you said that there were some questions were asked about gravel excavation?
Right. The way this would work is subject to us getting title to the property is how would it work in terms of allowing a gravel excavation to proceed, because they need to have some gravel removed in order for the Y project to proceed. The question was, if the Y had their development plans already ready, the gravel would be considered part of the development, so they wouldn't have to go through the zoning commission to get the special permit to do gravel excavation. If they weren't ready at that point, then we would have to go for get a gravel excavation permit, specifically for gravel excavation, which would require a special permit process.
And the building permit requirements, what were we asking for that?
They just want to know if everything comes together, what would be the timing in terms of building requirements. And we informed them that because of the complexity of the issue, the building official usually ships those out to the ICC, the International Code Compliance Group. We've done that on the Walmart project. We did it on our sewer plant. It doesn't take that much, usually 30 days.
The YMCA ships it out to IC. It has
Okay.
nothing to do with the town.
But you asked them to do it.
You weren't looking for a waiver or anything?
No.
Doug, one more question on that gravel.
Twice, I think.
On that gravel, do we have to, on the bridge abutments on both sides of the new bridge abutment, we're going to have to fill that in significantly. Are we looking at, if we take possession of that land, or when we take possession of it, are we entitled to take that gravel off the land and use it for backfill for these abutments on the bridges?
That's
Save
correct.
us a good
That's correct.
a lot of, is that
That's
being
how-
looked into it?
That's how the deal would be structured, is that any gravel, we're entitled to 50% of the gravel,
Right.
regardless. But we also said that any gravel that we need in terms of construction of the accessway or the bridge is exclusive of that agreement. So that we will get the gravel that we need for our purposes of constructing the bridge and also the accessories.
If we had to go looking for a plan and zoning and inland wetlands in regards to gravel excavation, how long would that take?
Right now, it's in process. The inland wetlands has it before them, and I know they do have some questions regarding the bridge construction. So I'm not sure exactly. There was a water report that CME was working on with the state as part of their permitting process for the bridge, and I know that the inland wetlands wanted to see that water report before they made a determination.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
You're welcome.
Item 11, unfinished business, Cronenberg Regional Technology Park and Bridge. We will go into executive session this evening, so I'd like to defer that to the end of the meeting.
Make a motion to defer that to the item 11A, Cronenberg Regional Technology Park and Bridge, to executive session. Move it down to item, down below item 13.
Very good. So I have a second on the motion? A motion and a second discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So carried. Item 11B is a state disposition of surplus property, 380 Concord Street, Dempsey Center portion. Doug, I know that you mentioned it earlier, and they're referring to planning at this particular point. Is there anything additional to add to that?
If you the board would like to wait until I receive some sort of information back from planning, then, you know, that's maybe how you want to see it.
Yeah, okay, very good, thank you. Item C, and I saw Michael here, is smoke-free municipal property. And Michael, do you have anything new to report to us this evening?
I have this paper. It's the Town of Putnam Smoke-Free Municipal Outdoor Spaces Ordinance. If you guys just want to take a look at it, if you guys have any questions, you know you can tell me. The two of the things that we have, you've already received this in the past. I just wanted to bring back to you this letter from Don Williams, Danny Rivero, and Nick Lexer, and the letter from Ron Perrin. And we will also be having a meeting on the 24th with the Recreation Department to approve the signage of what they want. And then we'll be going to NBDH possibly on the 20th, I'm hoping, and to make sure they're all set with everything as well.
So this ordinance is a proposed wording for the ordinance for the smoke-free. When I spoke to you, you said there was some issue you thought about a municipal ordinance conflicting with a state ordinance, and I told you Michael had that document, and that's to save you the trouble looking into it. That was they already did look into it.
And also, and this, we kind of went off the town of Wyndham, because this is similar to what they have. I mean, of course, we tweaked it a little bit, but for the most part, that's where it came from.
And Linda Colangelo sent us one that was just passed, similarly, an ordinance just passed in the town of Groton. Connecticut also, and there have been others. Since Michael started this project, there's been a dozen, just in Connecticut alone, probably over 1,000 certainly now across the U.S. for municipalities passing this kind of smoke-free ordinance for their outdoor areas.
Very good.
Should we get this over to Don to come to
Bill?
Bill?
Yeah. It was going to be my recommendation. Doug, I just one question. I was just trying to refresh my mind. Linda did call me the other day, and we talked a little bit about smoke-free in the parks and whatnot. No, but I didn't remember initially whether or not we talked it as being an ordinance, or was there another wording for?
We tried, we initially had talked about it being an ordinance, but then Bill St. came back with an opinion that the state statute has conflicting language.
Right.
One allows it, and one doesn't allow it. So he was concerned that, if you have this conflicting statutes, how would it come up in terms of enforcement? I know, as Linda said, there are a number of towns that have considered these ordinances very recently. So there must be a way that their attorneys looked at it and said, yeah, there's possibilities in that. So I think Selectman Maury's suggestion is great, that we bring this to Bill's knowledge.
Okay.
As town attorney.
I couldn't remember Linda, and I apologized to Linda the other day because we had a lot of conversations going on about this and how we actually left things. So.
Well, I think how it was left is that we would go back to looking at possibly a voluntary type of thing.
Right.
And if this covers the voluntary type of thing, then that might satisfy the statutes. But until I get to the town attorney, we really won't know. And then again, based on what other towns have done, we might actually check with CCM to see if they get all the legal opinions from the other towns. And I know Bill usually does that in terms of his research.
Very good. So Alma has a motion on the floor to turn it over to the town attorney for review at this particular point. Second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I would like to have whether the towns adopted it as a policy in regards to that, Doug, with that paperwork, so we get an idea. We can review their policy also to see how long it's been adopted, just out of curiosity,
I know I've seen a lot of recent action on it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm just wondering how many arrests and stuff.
Even before Mike brought it up again. It
Yeah.
seemed like there's been a lot of recent action. Killenly, of course, and Wyndham. And there was one other, I think, in northern mid-state. I think it was not Canton. Ellington. I think Granby was one. And I know one down in the southwest corner of the state. Weston or one of those. Groton.
Was the one that she
Southeast,
sent
that's right.
as an ordinance. And I think specifically, it's very timely what's happening in Killingly, because Killingly had it as a policy, and it didn't work. And that's why, so we can look right to the south of us to see what happened when they tried it as a policy, and now that's why they're going forward with this narrow margin of their town council voting for it to go to a...
I think they had some issues in the Putnam Bell Park area.
Right,
Yeah,
they
and
tried to do it as a
enforcement.
policy, and it didn't work, so they want to go forward with it to make it have something with some teeth, which that's how we wrote this ordinance, looking at dozens of ordinances and taking out the whereas and things that are difficult to make it, make something readable, make it all on one page, and that it's pretty clear, and have some of the rationale in there. And if you don't have some sort of teeth in it somewhere, somehow, then it gets to be a difficulty. And all of these things that have happened over the past few decades with those smoking with hospitals and, grocery stores and schools and all of these things. Initially, it was difficult. People were used to having the ashtrays, and it took a couple of years till these things became just a way of life, and I have no doubt that this will probably, there'll be some fussing around, I'm sure.
Yeah, Linda and I talked a little bit, as being in the park for the different events and whatnot. There weren't an overwhelming bunch of people that were smoking, but there were probably, a half a dozen or 10 people. I'm telling you, when I was up on that stage, it just radiates right to that stage for some reason. I don't know
It
why.
must be the wind current. Well, I was there one night when the performers asked
Yeah,
people
they
to
asked.
stop smoking.
Yeah. But it does, it radiates
It's not
right
an
up
issue.
there.
People can go outside the park. We're not trying to make people stop smoking. It's not an issue of taking away his rights. It's just that in the park, not only that park, but other.
The other parks.
While we're at it, just do all the parks in public.
And this letter also here does also say that there is no conflict. That was in their opinion.
So I'm not sure how to make sure that Attorney St. Ange has a copy of this.
We'll make sure he does.
We'll make sure he has it. So what's the next step in your eyes?
We're going to send it off to Attorney St. Ange for his review.
Okay.
Yep. We'll need to vote to send it to him. We have a motion and a second.
Yeah.
All those in favor to send it along to Attorney St. Ange, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, so carried.
We'll hear something for the next meeting?
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yes. Yeah, we got a long time
Yeah.
until next meeting.
Thank you.
Oh, it's 2 weeks instead of
Michael and
1
I
year.
continued work. I appreciate it. Item 12 is new business. In your packet, you have a temporary pistol permit for Mary Louise Bunker. Mary Louise?
I do not see her.
You don't see her?
No.
But you do have her information in her packet. Town Farm Road, been a resident of Putnam for a big number of years. What would be your pleasure?
Motion approved.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, so carried. In our packet, you have a second request for Craig Tuton. Craig, you're here. How are you?
So moved.
Have a motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so carried. New business, item C is Lisa Lowe and Associates. Lisa, how are you?
Very good.
Good.
Good evening,
Feel
ladies and
free to
gentlemen.
Sure.
I have my card, I'm going to pass that around.
Thank you.
And then I also have our monthly report, which may be in your packet already.
I haven't seen it.
I have copies. Okay, well, good. That works out well.
Oops, I'm sorry. Do you have a missing word? Could you send it? Yeah. Oh. I have it.
I want to say thank you so much for hiring my firm to do the small cities grant work for you. And it's been a great pleasure to do that so far. You also let me know that you had some questions, so I wanted to be here to answer them for you tonight.
Can we start?
Yes, sir.
I see right now, how many people do you have? It looks like you get a lot of ineligible properties on the list of requests for redevelopment funds. You have 16 properties, and looking at it, 1, 2, 3, 4, sorry. About 7 homeowners on that list of 16 that are ineligible at this point. So now we're down to 9 people that are eligible. Would that be a correct statement, by the way? And
Currently.
Currently.
That list will grow over time because applicants are always welcome to apply. We have it posted on the town website, so when someone sees the availability of the grant and they have a need, they'll apply. So that number will continue to grow and also to continue to shrink because people aren't always eligible. We go through a fairly thorough process of eligibility.
now on this particular grant, just correct me if I'm wrong, there's $300,000 initially available in this particular grant.
In the first grant
Grants
that
grant
was
that we're
awarded
dealing with now.
2012.
Right. We got 300,000.
Yes.
Out of that 300,000, what is the percentage that's going to be taken out at $300,000 for administration, other costs prior to construction? What's the basic 18%, 12 soft costs? What are we talking
Yeah,
about? 18%?
yeah. It's actually 25%.
The state allows up to 25%
Yes.
of that grant.
Yes, and part of that goes to administration, part of it goes to architectural work with
Right.
design for the projects, oversight of the projects and so forth.
Yeah. No,
We carry each project through from beginning to end.
just trying to figure out the
Yes.
percentage. So roughly, I'm sorry, I'm doing this off the cuff. So roughly, we're talking about 75,000 at least out of that grant. Typically. So we're talking about 225
Of
of
hard costs,
of hard cost actual construction.
yes.
On this grant, when do we have to have, what is the spend down threshold of that grant that you have to have spent prior to applying for another grant? Because now you just got another 400,000, am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we got 400,000 and we got 225 to work with. What percentage threshold is going to be spent down of this grant and a $400,000 rehab grant before we can apply next year? Do you know offhand?
I wouldn't necessarily recommend applying next year. Typically, you get a 2-year window of time to carry out a grant.
Right.
So, and typically we apply consecutive years in most of our towns. But if we get 2 consecutive grants, then we are wise to slow down a little bit. We'll often give another year. This last year, because the process was accelerated by 4 months, there was 0 spend down requirement on the 2012.
So,
But typically, you might have a 10% spend down.
right,
But last year, there was a 0%.
0%. But aren't they increasing, I don't know, I'm working with a grant up in Thompson myself at the elderly housing. Aren't they saying now that you have to start spending down almost 50% of the grant?
No.
Do you feel that you're willing to spend that $225,000 in the very near future so you can start into that payment process?
I
I mean,
think
that's a
so. I
reasonable
mean,
question, because
right
you've
now,
got 2
we're,
years.
right now, we're at about 120,000 spent, because we have the original project, that we're just finishing up now is gonna come in around $60,000. It's high. It's much higher than our typical project amount. That was a house with a great deal of need, and we worked with Delta to come to the conclusion that this warranted a bridge of cap for this project.
Is that
The next
all-
project is about 40,000, and that we just have the scope of work returned on. And then the next one coming down the pike is 20,000. So we're looking at about 120 spent down on the first 3 projects. That leaves you another 105 to spend. So, I mean, conservatively, if you did 4 more projects, you'd be
have
at
to
the
spend it down.
225, and you'd be into your next year's grant. But I wouldn't have any concerns whatsoever. If your concern is spend down rates and getting the money spent down as opposed to returning it to the state, we will not return. We never return money. What we would do if we had money at the end of a grant is we would request an extension, and then we would be allowed another year to carry out the project. And we would be very active in soliciting participants in the program through advertisements in the local papers. If we advertise, we get a burst of response from people. I know there's a lot of need in this community, so we work as fast as we can, and we try to spend money, and then we try to get more money.
A quick question, on that first project, you said you're gonna spend 70,000 instead of 50,000, is that a correct statement?
The first project, no,
It says
it's,
49,000.
we started out at 49. We originally thought it was gonna be 60. The bid came in a little lower than we thought at 49, but there's been a couple of change orders in there. We try to avoid change orders, but in this case, there has been a couple, and that's brought it up to close to 60.
And that didn't go over the property value that's required by the state,
No.
the assessed value. Okay, thank you.
Those were excellent questions.
Thank you.
Further questions? Thank you so much.
My
Appreciate
pleasure.
that very much. All right. Item D, is consideration of waiving the building permit fee on the Putnam High School project.
So moved.
A motion? Second. A motion, second, Mr. Lewis. Questions, concerns? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So carried. Item E is a USDA rural development grant for the purpose of Putnam facilities planning. Vote is required to approve and authorize the Economic Development Director to apply for grant. Can you give me an overview of this, please?
Like me to?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. I had the unique opportunity to attend one of the facilities meetings, and all of the discussion that went on about, there are different groups researching different opportunities for the town of Putnam. We had the school who was looking at doing a new school facility or to build new or to renovate as new. We have the library who's in a different direction looking as to the best possibilities of how to do a library. And at the same time, conversations come up about the state of health of our town hall. Opportunities come up for the 17 or 18 acres at the Dempsey Center. We do have the armory. So I contacted USDA Rural Development to see if there was any planning funding to look at municipal properties through any of its grants programs to, I'm a huge believer of staying in your lane, do what you're good at, know what you're good at, and then kind of maybe ask help for some of the things that you may not be the expert about. So I did ask if there was any planning funding to look at opportunities of hiring a consultant to kind of guide the direction of where we need to go and look at all these properties. Plans have been done in the past. I know we brought those up. What's happened since those plans? Were they put on a back burner for something? The library was not in need back then. Is this Dempsey Center an opportunity? If we're looking at the provincial house next door, is that a building we really want to take off the tax rolls and put a municipal service in there? Those are all kinds of questions that I think we need some guidance into, and I think $50,000 would get us quite a bit of expertise and maybe facilitate some of the conversations and bring all of the teams together because we all have passions, we all have, I'm going to call it a passion, not an agenda, because that always has a very negative connotation. But I think that maybe getting people who have done this before and taking a look at fresh eyes, maybe asking some of the questions that we haven't thought of and maybe need to think about. So it's just an opportunity I would like to put forward. They will have funding in October. I do have to apply by October, or sometime in October.
I'll make a motion that we give for the permission to make an application for these funds, $50,000 from the USDA.
There's a motion, and a second for the Alma. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so carried.
Thank you.
Item F is approval to remove two streetscape trees in front of 88 Main and 76 to 80 Main Street. Delta, could you give us just a little, I know there's something in your, there's a little write-up in your packet, but I guess these trees are diseased.
Well, these trees, in the 1980s, when this streetscape project was put in, they put in all Norway maples, mostly Norway maples, which are now deemed to be an invasive species. So we're covering up a lot of the architectural structures that we have, the historic architectural treasures that we have. And I'm a huge proponent of streetscape projects, but I think that we need to put in species that are a little more specific to downtown areas. And we do have a great manual that UConn has that Jerry Beausoleil, who is our tree warden, knows about. So while the construction of this project goes on, and I know that the Cedar building that the Costa-Joy family is now in touch with again, there are 2 trees there that I would like permission to take down. I have had Mr. Beausoleil sign off as tree warden, but at the same time we have many other trees that have come down. I don't know if they've come before the Board of Selectmen or not, but I would like permission to, on Main Street, have the ability at some date with the tree wardens signing off of, to take down some of those trees that are significantly diseased and unhealthy. When a tree starts to die from the top down, it means that its roots are just curled and they just can't be saved. So we have a lot of, and I did print pictures for you all, and I forgot to remember. Sorry. So I'm just asking for that permission too, but not to make that decision myself, to make that decision with the tree warden's expertise.
So moved.
Got motion, second. Discussion?
The only thing is, now, right now you got a price for the 2 trees, Delta, but you're actually saying that if you and DPW tree warden look at these trees and decide to remove the other trees, you don't have to come before the board. Is that
That's correct, but I do have to get a bid and a price and that kind of thing. It's a great price, $400 removal of 2 trees that are in wires and the stumps removed. So.
Got motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, so carried. In item G, it's Merry Crest Drive, a possible traffic issue. I know, Nick, you're here. If you'd like to come forward and talk about that, please.
You're in the hot seat now, Nick.
Well, I think that you were kind enough to send out the letter which I wrote to the mayor on the Merry Crest Drive situation. And what prompted the present, it's been on my mind, and I'm sure other minds for a considerable period of time, but what prompted, obviously, the present request is the new fire station is being built just easterly of it. And well, for me, I even got pictures of a situation where it is nobody's fault that this situation exists, because as all of us here know, historically it occurred when they put in Route 44, and that was the original road that went down around and came out, and was the original road from Providence to Putnam. The concern I had was really, at this point, with the fire station now being constructed, is that I thought it was a dangerous situation, and would be accentuated by virtue of fire vehicles, fire protection vehicles, coming out and heading, in a westerly direction. It was just a bad situation. I think most of the people here are familiar with the situation, and that is, no matter how careful somebody is, coming east of them, Mary Crest Drive, you have to get almost into the travel lane to be able to see whether somebody's coming or not. I'm hopeful that, all of us here would be familiar with it, that I don't think it will be a terrible detriment to regional property owners. The situation would be, obviously, traffic will continue to go west. There would be probably some signage that would be required to have the traffic coming in a southerly direction on Route 21 to go to the intersection and take a left. But I do think, without being dramatic, and I really got a busy schedule, I really think the situation is a serious, really seriously dangerous situation caused by no one, but we have to recognize it, and with view of the new fire station, it should be westerly, only going westerly on Mary Crest Drive. And the request is that the board talk to Bill St. Ange, and I believe the Board of Selectmen is the traffic authority, and therefore the request is specifically that we allow, or the board allows, only traffic, one-way traffic, westerly on Mary Crest Drive, and that is from 44 up to 21. And if anybody, I think everybody here is pretty familiar with the situation, so. But for grammar purposes, I had some pictures taken. But
did you pay for that, Nick?
So anyway, that's the request, and I would ask the board to seriously consider it, because of course we've had some accidents there, and it's really a situation where a dangerous, faultless type of situation, where somebody can really be exercising reasonable care and still suffer significant harm. And then on the fire station, I don't think we should put our fire people in peril when they respond to really emergency situations. Their minds are gone, they have to go to the rescue. So for them to get out and go like that before they go down the road, may be a little bit more than we should ask them. So I just ask the board to favorably consider that, and then the pictures are, I think everybody's familiar with it, but they do, I think, graphically show that it's not possible to get by there in a safe manner. So I thank you for your attention. If anybody has any questions, and I would really appreciate some board taking some action.
I think you're gonna have a little bit of an issue with this though, because there's school buses that use that road to drop kids over at the daycare. There's deliveries that are made to the two businesses, well, the one business that's on that road, and they have a warehouse on the other side of the road. It's impossible for a truck to go up 44 and take a left and come down that road. You're never gonna make that corner. I drove a truck for years. There's no way you're gonna take a left and go down that road one day.
From what direction?
You're coming out of Putnam, up 44. You have to go up Mary Crest Drive and go that way. You know what I'm saying? You want it to come one way down. How are trucks coming out of Putnam up 44
Right.
to get back down that road? You'll never make that turn.
So that your feeling is that the
School buses won't make that turn. They never make the turn. It's not wide enough. A bus cannot make that turn.
and the school buses are serving, they would not be able to go westerly and pick up students?
They would to pick up or drop off. Most of them they drop off at the daycare across the street, and they are heading easterly up that road.
But the daycare has access in both
Yes, but if they're coming out of Putnam, you don't want kids crossing Route 44 over there.
No, maybe I'm not clear as to what is the problem, because if the buses were picking them up to go to school, and they'd be heading westerly, that's not a problem. your feeling is there's a problem on the return?
Exactly. And I know the bus goes through there, comes up to that daycare on the back road, lets the kids off. They go up and they cut through the Lincoln garage there. They cut through that yard and come back, because there's no way they can go out to the end and take a right either. But if you're coming up 44, and you'd have to go past the Mel's Auto Body. You know?
Right.
You'd have to go past there and go up and take a left and come down that road. There's not a bus driver in this town that can turn that corner.
Well, they go through Baker's now, so it's different.
Yeah, I mean,
If they go through
But you
Baker's,
still-
what,
well, you
school
can't.
buses?
But that's a, if they decide you can't come through the
Well, I
avenue,
think
or
that's-
another business comes in. And it's commercial on the other side also, the Marion property's commercial. You're gonna turn that into a one-way street in front of them.
well, again, I think that, I understand your concern, but I think that the access could be developed, instead of picking up the students through either Baker's or some, but I do really think the danger there is so
Other
significant.
deliveries, the trucks are gonna deliver over there.
They deliver,
They pick up cars, they pick up, they
Parts.
take waste oil, parts. There's a lot of trucks on that road. My shop's right across the street. I see that road used every day.
Well, I think
Sean.
the thing is, I think it can be looked at, can be looked at with Mr. Baker, I'm sure that we can make, I mean, I agree with you, Nick, coming out of that road, I've had to steal my tires, so I have to buy new ones at his place to get out of there. And I think that's, I think they can be worked out. The only thing is, do we have to go to the state traffic control?
We might have to.
We might have to, I would assume.
To change.
So could you leave us the pictures, so when we make our presentation at the state traffic, I think we're gonna have to go to the state traffic control commission, because it comes off the main road.
Also, John, you're a lot more familiar with that road than I am. Is that a road that it would be viable to make part of it one way, but not all of it one way?
No.
No,
No, because then you're encroaching on the man's property to cross it all the time.
okay,
You can't do that either.
no.
Most people don't, I consciously don't make a decision to go out that way because of that last thing. And it's worked so far. I mean, some people, if they want to take a shortcut or something, buzz through there, but it's not a good road to go out and then head easterly on 44. And even with trucks and stuff, they cut through that yard. But there's a lot of trucks that pick up cars, waste oil,
Right.
the delivery trucks for the heating oil for those places come out that way. You cannot, it's impossible to go up and take a left down that road. You're not gonna do it. I drove that truck for years, I lived across the
You
road.
dead end at the easterly point? It's a way that you could, by buses.
Dead end?
Yeah.
I think it just has to look, I don't think there's gonna be, it's gonna be researched more, first with the state, and then, to me, I don't see an issue if we can get Mr. Baker to open up a road or something, even the daycare, I mean, because the buses are the problem, the trucks are the problem.
Or cut a
And
new
I-
access out at the end.
Yeah.
Block off where it was there and move the access way out a little more so you come out and you take a left up and out of there. But as
So
you
square
come
it
now,
off.
you don't see.
Right.
So make it
But the town
perpendicular.
owns the property.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The town owns the property after Baker's, that point. You could easily move that entranceway down more.
Like we did across from the shopping center. Or up by the tractor supply.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, exactly. Bingo, that idea.
Okay.
Move it down, because I know we own it, because we mow it and maintain it right now, right after their parking lot.
Okay.
So if you could make a sweep there out and then eliminate the end of it,
Yeah.
that's not a bad idea.
Okay.
But making it one way, I think is gonna screw it. And then it would be more accessible for the buses to make that turn to come in, or trucks. But at the way it's shot now, and I agree, when you pull to the end of that, you take your life in your hands. You can't see 50 feet up the road, and them cars whiz through there.
John, was there any, in the plans for the fire department, is there any emergency lighting that will be
Yes.
triggered? As
Before it, we
develop?
want to put the signed lights, and after, by Matchelitis, and down to the end of the property, flashing lights when you come up. I personally don't want to see what they do when you patch it, with the yellow flashing lights all day long. That's nonsense.
Yeah.
Nonsense. Red lights come on when the alarm triggers, put the lights on.
Right.
Gloucester, I think, that small fire department.
That's the one I'm talking about,
Yeah,
Gloucester.
Gloucester, yeah.
I appreciate some attention.
Oh, definitely.
I
Great
really,
idea.
I listened to them, you're right on the scene,
Yeah.
but I do think that it's such a dangerous situation that one way or another, we have to at least confront it, deal with it, because, it's not because selfishly I go by here every day.
You're a target.
So, you know, that's not the point.
You lost a neighbor. You lost a neighbor right there.
Yes, yes, we did.
We lost
That-
Eddie
and
Navarro there.
Frankly, that was triggered the desire to take some action, but out of respect for the neighbor,
Yep.
I felt that it would be better to let things settle down, and then with the fire station coming in, it gave us another opportunity to deal with it in whatever way, but I think this board and you know, the state and whatever can be dealt with, and appreciate you taking the time.
Appreciate you bringing it forward.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
So, do I need to make a motion to pass it along? Is it Jerry that will coordinate this with the state? So I'll make that motion that we give it to Jerry so he can coordinate it with.
We have a motion to send it along to our town highway foreman, Jerry Bosley, to communicate with the state of Connecticut to see what could be done to deal with that intersection. How's that?
Have the town planner look at it too.
A motion and a second? Yep. Further questions, concerns? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Item H is a WPCA bond resolution for $2,108,133.
$1 million. No, it's $2 million. No, it's $1 million.
Oh, yeah, it is $1 million.
The numbers were transposed, so it's $1,208,000.
$1,200,000?
$280,000. $133. $113. Oh my God.
13 spelled wrong.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I don't know if that matters before he signs it. 13 is spelled wrong.
Could we amend this and then we could sign it, come in and sign it at a later date?
Sure.
Vote on it?
Resolution is correct. And
No,
it's
it's missing the 8.
Is it?
Yeah.
It says 1,200,000
Yeah.
113.
instead of 208,000.
Yeah.
And 13.
And this was provided us by the USDA.
I'll make a motion that we wait to the, to approve it with the correct figure of $2,108,133.
$1 million.
$1 million, okay.
208.
$1 million. And 136, once we get it back from the USDA in the right context, that we move it on. All it's going to be assigned by the whole board or just
the mayor.
Just the mayor? Yeah.
Tell them we'll always be back here for a month.
Yeah. I'll make that a form motion.
Let me understand the motion. The motion is to wait until we get it back from USDA for the correction, for the
No.
correct figures before we sign it?
No, he's saying amend the figures,
Yes.
to the correct figures on the resolution.
To allow me to sign
And
that.
then allow you to sign.
Very good. I have a motion and a second. Discussion? All those in... No, sir. Discussion, further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so carried. Item I is High School Building Committee classification. Doug?
Again, that was, that should be clarification. Again, that's probably my handwriting when I gave it to Denise. The situation now is that the building committee is moving ahead full speed, and there are certain items that they're going out for bid on. There's some testing that has to be done, and as typically normally happens is that these items would come to the Board of Selectmen, and you would open them and review them and award at a Board of Selectmen meeting. This would impede the work of the school building committee and would slow it down. And it actually, I talked to the superintendent, and there actually would be a cost factor involved in terms of not being able to proceed. The chart that we gave to the building committee seems to be clear, but I just wanted to come back, both Superintendent Hall and I wanted to come back to the board to just make sure that the understanding is that the building committee can act in these matters and move forward in terms of going out to bid on these items, opening the bids, and then based on our bidding procedure, awarded to the lowest responsible bidder.
Very good. We need that in motion as well?
No, I
Or
just
for
want to make
information?
sure that
Okay.
that's how
I'll
we proceed
understand.
if you're okay with it.
Yep. Questions of Doug in that regard? Thank you, Doug.
You're welcome.
All right, item J, accept the resignation of Angela Nealon from the Inland Wetlands Commission, effective September the 16th. Motion, second?
Second with regret.
Second, Alan, with regrets. Discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so carried. Item K is approval of bills.
Make a motion, we pay all approved bills.
Second.
A motion in the second, discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so carried. All other business to lawfully come before such meeting. Would there be anything further? Item 13, public comment. Yes, sir.
Tony Fells Brown. I had the pleasure of taking several people from downstate around Putnam, and I showed them the school that's renovated to new and the fields, and where's the town hall? I showed them the town hall. And we went around the back of it, came this way, and I was kind of embarrassed, and I mentioned this before. The last river fire was on Saturday. The next Monday, I saw the entire highway crew, Public Works, and within an hour, everything was taken out of the water. The brush that's in the back over here, we talk about blight ordinance, that's terrible. That's our land. And also the people next door, their trees infringe on our property. If you park there, you get everything under the sun in your car. And I saw Jerry Bosley, and I told him, I said, Jerry, you just get, that big mower, and you do the top half of the hill, then go around to the bottom half. He told me one guy does it by hand once a year. I didn't believe him. I would be embarrassed. As a citizen, I was embarrassed to look at that. That's number one. The second thing I have, in the Norwich Bulletin, they always put down municipal meetings. I never, ever see Putnam's in there. I see Groton's, I see Chili's, I see Plainfield's. We're never in there. Is that our fault or is it their fault? They're used to having this stuff? Okay. So those are my two burning issues.
Not theirs.
Not bad.
Hey, thank you.
Thanks,
Don't
Tony.
say burning, no, I'm scared.
Yes, Lydia.
Linda Garcia, I asked last time about the town planner and why we didn't get a summary of what he does. I thought last time, I still think it would be valuable. I know Renee mentioned it would take time out of his hours to prepare a summary, but I don't see how that's a justification. Takes time out of Doug's hours, out of Doug's and leaves, and everyone who presents a summary, and he's the new guy on the block, and this, for example, this item 12E that Delph was asking about, to have someone be a coordinator looking at all of it, to me, I mean, maybe I don't have it right, but to me that's what a town planner, at least in part, does, kind of looks around. Maybe I'm totally off what I think a town planner is.
Right.
Maybe if he came and he reported now, then I'd be more, so, am I wrong? What is a town planner?
I think she's talking, maybe I don't understand Delpha, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what that's looking more to is someone perhaps looking at the bones of the building to see, will this building be appropriate for renovating, doing that kind of thing, doing other kind of what I consider contracting services that has expertise in more specific areas. A town planner is an expert in sort of big planning, in looking at the big picture, both today, what we've been in the past, and looking 5, 10, 25, 50 years into the future. He isn't, a building inspector or a builder or an electrician or anything like that. His expertise is in looking at the entire area. I think that the grant that Delpha was talking about is more for people with specific expertise as a contractor, expertise with electrical systems, expertise with, maybe parking. I mean, I'm just thinking of the kind of things that might be involved when looking at facilities. asbestos or other hazardous material abatement, not the kind of broad expertise that a planner has. Am I right on that, Delphin?
Well, I think clearly a town planner's main focus is land use decisions, and certainly you could say buildings have a land use capability of them, and it's his job to implement the concerns and the goals of the town plan of conservation and development, and overseeing those kind of things along with the team building that comes along with that. But I think the expertise of what I'm looking for is building conditions. Are certain buildings worth taking off the tax rolls, putting on the tax rolls? Are they possible to renovate for what we want to look at? Or are they better to be sold for a different purpose, whether condominiums or school or something like that? It's kind of doing that outreach that we who are very close would never tend to think about.
I think with that being said, though, I agree. I think a nice town planner report, if not, for every meeting, but.
Well, I think a town planner,
Would be
you
great,
can
and
say
thank you for your-
land, you can say land use what you want, but he's been in town long enough to know that the town has building issues and issues before it that should kind of tie in with the plan of conservation and development. He doesn't only develop the town. If he wants to develop the town, how about looking at some of these town buildings? What are our needs along with the needs of future planning? And I can't understand why we're not paying a planner. I mean, if he can't look, he comes in the building every day. It seems what type of building we have. He should have some foresight to say, the town's got to come up with a plan to address these issues, town hall, the library, and everything else. That's the way I feel. And as far as the tax, the nuns don't pay taxes now anyways, Delphi, so it doesn't matter. But we have to look at everything. We have to finally come up with a plan as a town, and for us, for the town buildings, the town facilities, the bridges and everything else, which we haven't done. It's about time we start using the planner that we have, the building official, and all these officials to come up with some type of plan to lead us into the future. We've been talking about buildings for 20 years and we haven't put a spade in the ground.
Well, just to finish my question, is there some opposition or some reason why he can't let the town know what he's doing? I would think that would,
Linda, if you gave me just a moment,
Yeah.
I was going to tell you that I'd be happy to invite Don to our next meeting.
And could
And
he
he could give us
report
an
on
update of
some
what he's
like
working
every
on.
other, like the others do? I mean, we always know what Doug Cutler's doing, we always know what Delphi's doing, we always can look up at least the report of the building official, and he's here.
I think if he probably gave us a quarterly report of what he was doing.
Something.
I think that's a phenomenal.
Mr. Place, Mayor, as chair of the Board of Finance, I invited our town planner several months ago for a meeting. After he came, and I hope this present here, but I agree with Barney wholeheartedly. I don't know what in the hell this guy does for $50 grand a year. All he talked about was zoning. That was it. And I read to him what OPM says a town planner is supposed to do. I might as well have read it to this bottle of the sand water. I haven't seen anything. He was supposed to give us reports once a month. We haven't got a piece of paper. There are a lot of things in town. You got the armory, I know he walked Dempsey property, but that was it. I walked it. Hey, what did you find? What is it used for? What can we do for it? If it's no good, tell us that. I don't know what he does. I really don't. And we reached out to the guy. Three voting members of the board members told me not to invite this guy again to our meeting because it was a half-hour waste of time.
But I think we have the opportunity to ask Don to come in at our next meeting and to ask him those questions.
Well, he actually did report to us on the Dempsey property, but because of the nature of our looking into Dempsey, it was during an executive session.
I just used that. There's
Yeah.
other things that he should be doing.
No, but just mentioning, since you mentioned that, he did actually report to us on that.
Okay.
Well, I'm on one of these with George with the library town committee, and I don't believe I'd recognize the man if I saw him, but I would think that those are the types of things that I would think he should periodically at least have input, knowledge, with all these different separate things going on. I thought when we hired him last year, that was gonna be one of his things. Maybe it's my fault because I didn't pursue getting his job description and look at it. Maybe I should do that, and then I'll be asking.
I'd be happy to, again, to invite him to our next meeting, and we can ask him all the questions that we would like to ask, and I think he can give you an idea of what's on his plate at this particular point. And I think we're just kind of not let him defend himself at the next meeting before we go on.
Yeah, I don't
have a
have anything
conversation
against him,
about him
I don't
without
know what he
defending
does,
himself.
and I would just like to know what he does as we get reports.
I think he'd be
like
happy to
others.
tell you
Yeah.
that, Linda. But let me have him come to the next
Okay,
meeting.
thank
Let the
you.
record show that Linda and I didn't talk before the meeting.
I saw you talking to Michael. Thank you all.
I'm an ex-smoker, that word is passed. Start smoking.
I'm sorry, George.
Just on the library issue, I have talked to the town planner a little bit. He's had a few ideas, but he really is a very quiet spoken person, so. But we have bounced a couple ideas back and forth. That's what it is.
Thank you, George. Thank you. We need to go into executive session at this point, a meeting. I
Make
need
a
a
motion to go into executive session.
John Perry, 11 Gold Street. On the subject, you guys are talking about trees in town. The trees that are near the old tar field are in very bad shape. There's a lot of dead wood. And every time we get a good gust of wind, a lot of debris comes down. And I think it's time that our guys go over there and try to cut out the dead stuff before some car gets whacked in the road. Or like me, I take my morning walks down that sidewalk. And somebody's going to get hurt someday.
Thank you, Mr. Perry.
And also the tree by the Historical Society, half the whole middle of it's dead. Thank you.
Thank you. I need a motion on the floor to temporarily go into executive session, to leave our present meeting, to go into executive session. To invite Town Administrator Doug Cutler.
Yes.
So moved by Barney.
Second.
I have a second by Alma. All those, discussion? Okay. Discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay. Thank you all.
Yeah.